One.
Well, I remember watching the film Chhorii a few years back, and it actually left me scared because it was actually a terrifying film, but very formidable forces of talent that have joined me today for the sequel. That is, of course, the new talent that has come on board for the film. That is, of course, Soha Ali Khan and Nushrratt, who is, I would say, the Sigourney Weaver of the Chhorii franchise. She's a formidable force who does not stop. So, look, welcome to both of you, and thank you so much. Um, Look, I think let's talk about the difference of synergies here. Nushrratt, you are the good, right, in this narrative. You are the one who's conquered those fears. And Soha, you are the one who is igniting the fears, and look terrifying in the film, and I mean that as a compliment.
Thank you.
So how do you, as actors, I think, navigate this darkness? I think in terms of battling it and then enforcing it at the same time. So Nushrratt, will begin with you, and then Soha, I'll come to you.
For me, what I genuinely really like about from Chhorii 1 to Chhorii 2 is we've been able to stay very true to what the part one's organic soul was, I guess, what the film was about. And the only reason we made part two is because we had a really nice, similar milieu, similar world, social legal practice done on women again in part two to talk about. And hence the film for me was a straight yes on just, I guess, concept that, yeah, I want to talk about this and I want to take the film here. And guys, hey, let's write it and do it. And then we are here. But so at least in part one, it was me against the husband and the parents. Yeah. Here the world has got larger. There are more people. It's not just three people in one house in the middle of sugarcane fields, isolated from the world. Now it's a whole cult that's come together saying, no, no, this is what we do. And we do it in strength. We do it in numbers. And I find that very interesting because if you think about it, you can't do these inhuman things if you don't have strength of numbers. I mean, you
Hmm.
can't just have two people go around doing them. Somebody will say, whoa, what the hell? But if you have like a whole cult of people doing it, they find strength in it and they find reason in it, and they say, "Ye to sahi hai. This is okay to do." It's like a herd mentality, like, you just kind of go with the crowd. So that was very interesting because we opened up a bigger world where we understand that people are just following it for no reason.
Yeah.
And the prima face of that world, who's standing in front of me and trying to like shake me down, is not a man, is not my husband anymore. It's a woman. It's Soha,
Hmm.
who's and we're absolute at different juxtapositions in this narrative, where I'm telling her this is wrong, and she's saying, "What are you talking about? This is my pratha. This is the practice. We've been doing it, and it's done for the right." And I'm telling her, "You're a girl, and you're doing this to a girl. Can you like wake up and look around? This cannot happen." I like the fact that we're two women fighting it against each other in a
Hmm.
very male patriarchal practice, which is
Correct.
done from a very male gaze or male dominated society and male dominated kind of um, hierarchy, or I guess that's the word, that if the leader of the Kutba is saying this has to be done, the women are following it. But it's one
Hmm.
woman fighting another woman saying, no, this is right. And the other one saying, are you mad? Why aren't you even questioning it? So I really like that thread on which this whole film has kind of come together. It's very nice.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for that. I mean, Soha, a two-part question, I think. I mean, also kind of following up on what I asked in the beginning. Is number one, a dark character, extremely dark, a terrifying character. So what elements do you as an artist have to delve into? Because this is something which you've never done before. And I think second part also is, um, it's I feel like as actors you have to be very neutral, right, to the characters that you're doing, even if they are really messed up characters. You kind of have to be that sense of voice of reason when you're kind of analyzing it and wanting to portray it on screen. How do you stay rooted when playing such a demonic character, if I may say so, actually?
I think more than neutral, you have to try and find the conviction. You have to actually empathize with your character to know what is the backstory sometimes to why they are doing what they're doing. If there is a backstory, that's helpful. And my character does have a backstory. Often, I think perpetrators of abuse are victims of abuse as well. There might be
Mm.
a cycle of violence that you're following. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you revolt against that and you say, this happened to me. I'm going to make sure that the world is going to be a better place. So it depends on, how you deal with trauma, for example, and your personality. So I think for me, when you're playing a character that is completely out of your comfort level, that is alien to your value system, your dialect, your way of dressing, thinking, then it's very important to try and get to the root of that character. Who is this person? Why do they do what they do? And you may not believe, of course, because especially in this case, how can I? Because my life is completely different. I am I have been empowered by so many women, and I would like to empower women. So this is very alien to me, but I have to try and put myself in this character's shoes, and at least pretend to behave. What's wonderful about horror is that, of course, there's your performance, but you get so much support from ambience. Because if you create the ambience, that in itself is eerie. You can just stand in frame in the shadows and be scary. The help of, a veil or a little fluttering of a dupatta, an anklet, a tattoo, lenses, of course, VFX and prosthetics add to it. The music, I find, in a horror movie is so effective. So I feel like all of it comes together to help you to be the evil.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, it's interesting because I was just thinking about it. Like your co-star from Rang De Basanti, Maddie, did Shaitan last year, and
Yeah.
now you're also kind of stepping 10 years later also into this territory. And I'm loving the fact that we're seeing actors, obviously like yourself, who I have loved watching over the years, really step into this territory. But I think conviction is a very good word that you use, Soha. And I'm going to use this as my next question, Nushrratt, as well, for you both actually. Because I think Chhorii has really changed the game for you, Nushrratt. I remember watching Lapa Chapi, Vishal's first film, and it was raw as hell. It was so raw, and I think the way it really brought out the nuances of the characters, it was marvelous. And I think he did such a great job with the first film as well. But I think for you, Conviction. Because you've almost been like represented this gender play very interesting in your career, Nushrratt. You've done Love Ranjan cinema, but Chhorii is a very different level of an animal. I mean, I remember watching the film and that ending where you're literally having it out with that with Mita Vash's character, and then you walk off into the fields. My God, it was so empowering. But how what exactly has convinced you a lot? I mean, I know it might sound like a very obvious question, but beyond the obvious tropes of it being empowering and addressing these social issues with the horror framing, what has really convinced you to really take up these roles? And I think Soha will come to your decisions as well after.
I get what the question is, and I get when you say the usual tropes of picking a film like this. But can I tell you very honestly, I didn't pick the film. The film picked me. And I know it sounds like another cliche right there, but that's the truth. Uh, I'm here to be an actor. I want to do various kinds of roles, and I can tell you this without flinching. You ask any other actor that would you not grab an opportunity where you get to do so much in a film, where you get to play such different shades, and you're suddenly put into a world where you're really tested and you're pushed to your boundaries and limits. Where you also, I never imagined what it feels like when a body is set on fire, and I played that in Chhorii, and I was just like, how am I going to do it? I don't know what fire feels like. One little bit like a burn, but a whole body on fire. How do I emote that? So it's exciting for an actor to go into territories they've not gone to before. That was probably my first take on it. That, oh my God, I get to do this. I get to really push myself and put myself in that kind of situation, which I have never done before. So for me, Chhorii one, more than the cause of it, more than the social cause of trying to say something bigger, which was all, of course, there. But at the raw level of it was just an actor wanting to do more than what she has done before, or pick something which she has not done before. I think my choices of films only come from there. That, oh, this is interesting. I I I want to put myself in this, and I want to see what I come out as at the end of it. Then am I able to do this? Am I able to transform into this world and in this character? That's I think that's my only greed of being an actor, and the only reason why I'm here doing films is that I enjoy the process so much. that I
Mm.
want to do different things. I mean, there
Yeah.
was no reason why I did Ajit Dastans. I played a maid in it, which was
Mm.
again twisted. I don't understand it. But
Mm.
I said, damn, I don't know. It's such a great story. I want to do this. I want to
Right.
know how I'm going to play this. And I just put myself in it and did it.
Yeah.
That's
No,
really the reason why.
it's amazing. And even Akeli as well was incredible as well. I think I remember telling you as well about it. I loved your performance in that. But look, so I think as a final question, because I am being told that we have to wrap up. Um, I think it's again a two-part question, sorry. But I think number one, it's interesting because look, you've had lots of ups and downs in your career, right? It's not been an easy ride. But I think the way, honestly, and hats off to you for really carrying it off with grace and dignity, with the way you've dealt with everything, it's been marvelous. And I think that's one thing that I've always associated. I don't know if it's the Sharmila Tagore factor that I always see in you, the way you carry beautifully, the way you play your characters, it's wonderful. But I think how have you dealt with your decisions in the past, and I think up to Chhorii too? And secondly, we're seeing this beautiful rise in cinema now, where we're seeing stories which, again, I don't want to make it gender specific, but there are strong stories about women. I mean, in commercial cinema, you've got Stree too. Recently, Sandhya Suri's Santosh, which was an incredible
Yeah.
movie film. So we're seeing this movement now, but उस movement के आगे क्या? कब तक सिर्फ सिनेमा एक साधन बनेगा entertainment के लिए, और कब actually genuinely will it be a force to be reckoned with in terms of actually implementing social change on a ground level in India specifically? So
Right.
it's a heavy question, but I
It's a
thought,
heavy question. Now, the second part of your question, I think cinema has, they say art reflects society, and then society, captures, I mean, it reflects art. It's sort of, they work hand in hand. My only personal experience of this was in Rang De Basanti, when a lot of people said it's such a violent film, and, isn't it giving the wrong message to the youth? Here you have a son killing his father, you have, young adults assassinating the defense minister. Maybe this is not the right message. We're very impressionable, in many ways, an immature country because we're only 60, 70 years old as compared to other societies. And Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra said, no, I have faith in our audience that they're going to take the right message. They do understand these are characters on screen playing parts, and that there's drama in this. But you can see that when, for example, the verdict of the Jessica Lal case happened,
mm,
there were people who took to the streets in a candlelight vigil, very much reminiscent of the candlelight vigil that the characters in Rang De Basanti took to in India Gate. So I have faith in our audience that when they watch movies and there's a message there, they take the positive message and they reflect on it. And we've seen how cinema has the aptitude, the ability to bring change in a way that perhaps even textbooks don't in this country. Which is
sure.
why I think if you want to address a social issue like female feticide, female infanticide, etc., if you can do it in the form of horror, where you are then making it seem like, oh, this is a fictional world with fictional evil characters doing these heinous things, and people are like, oh, it's terrifying. But actually, when you think about it, these are very real people doing very real things in our society today, not just in back of beyond villages, but in apartments in Mumbai. So that
Mm,
is the real horror. And that stays with you long after. Like, for example, the statistics that they showed at the end of Chhorii, which was the real horror. Then you think, okay, this is actually about my life. It may not be my life, but it is happening in my world. And how can I make a difference?
mm,
Because it also comes back to you. We have children growing up. I have a daughter who is growing up. She's not going to live in a vacuum. I may not have, been subject to the violence that many women have been in this country, but I cannot take for granted that she may not be. So I want her to belong to a world where these traditions are seized, where they end. Now,
mm,
when it comes to the first half of your question, which is how do you deal with ups and downs, I feel like I've always said that my career is a part of my life and not my entire life. I've also made bad choices because actually along in the early days, there was no one really there to guide me. My
mm.
parents weren't kicked about my choice of me joining the film industry. Not sure why, but they
Interesting.
I know exactly. I was like, but I think they just had different dreams for me. And I chose, for example, very briefly, to be the girl who chooses her career over her boyfriend in my first film, and I realized that I wrote myself out of the role of the heroine in Dil Mange Mo, and Aisha Takia became the heroine. So now I might look at life differently. I might make different choices. I might think about the consequences of what I'm doing. I might think about how films work in India. I might choose to be a part of a film because I'm excited about it, but I might also think a little bit about whether they would be able to release this film properly, whether they have the budget to present it properly, or will it just lie, in cans for a very long time. So
Ah,
I think a little bit more thinking, but also understanding that certain things are outside of your control, like success work. I do believe if you're a part of good films, no matter what, that film has a history. People will continue to enjoy it maybe 20 years from now. It'll live its life. It might go to festivals. It might be seen on, there are no DVDs anymore, but on television and in
streaming.
videos and things like that later on. So they have their own histories.
Amazing. Well, look, on that note, I just have to say, I'm so grateful to have you both on Filme Shilmy. You both have been a
Thank
force
you.
to be reckoned with. Soha, this was our first interview, and Nushrratt, we've had so many wonderful chats before. And I think the sort of lens you both come from, I mean, Soha, of course, Sharmila ji has worked with Satyajit Ray, who has written beautiful characters, I think, and really strong social characters. And Nushrratt, you've been a part of films like Akashvani from your beginning of your journey as well in cinema. And I think this sort of marriage that's come together with this and then Vishal and the whole theming of it, I think it's wonderful. And I definitely cannot wait to watch it on Prime Video for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You,
you.
thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. I hope you
Thank
enjoyed.
Definitely for sure. Thank you.
Bye. See
Thank
you.
you.